Hi, and welcome to Little Mirrors. I'm Yule.
I'm Iolanthe.
And today we're going to talk about the last week of pregnancy, I suppose.
Yeah, we've got pretty much a week to go now. And it's interesting. It's its own interesting process. So we thought that we'd share this last little bit with you.
Yeah. So how are you, Iolanthe?
I am good. I'm just really tired. So I feel really well and hearty. I just feel like I have the best kind of wonderful alien inside me that's moving a lot. So I feel well, but I just need to kind of sleep a lot. And sometimes I have wild bursts of energy, or I want to tidy everything and do lots and bits and pieces, and I manage to achieve some of it, but not all of it. How are you feeling, Yule?
I'm feeling pretty good. The last 2 weeks have been feeling very real about the impending arrival. I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I'm just treading water, really waiting for the big event. Can't wait for it to happen, because I think everything is as organised as it can be. We're as ready as we can be for first child.
Mm-hmm.
We've done everything we can in our business to set that up. We've got our support people ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Bags are packed. Baby car seat capsule is in the car, ready, which is a little bit odd. Driving around, most of the time it's just got shopping in it at the moment, but we'll put a baby in there very soon. And everything's just like kind of this.
It's a really surreal waiting period. I think it's a waiting period unlike any other waiting period.
That's right. Yeah, I can't say I've experienced anything like this. The anticipation is unlike anything I've experienced before. Maybe the anticipation of Christmas as a child is the closest thing I can compare it to.
Yeah.
I don't usually anticipate Christmas as much as I used to these days, but this is a nice present.
Yeah, nice present.
Yeah, so looking forward to that coming. So that's basically how I feel about things. Put a lot of things in place. A lot of discussions at work around how much leave I'm taking, when I'm taking it, starting to hand off work to other people to make sure that things, that there's no drop balls in my absence. Everyone knows what's going to happen, the usual things I imagine.
Do you feel like supported?
I'm feeling very supported by my colleagues, feeling very supported by you. And family are constantly calling. The phone doesn't stop ringing with people checking to see if it's if they're on their way, if labour's begun, or we've got an arrival to announce. And that's basically how most of my time's going. And which kind of leads me back to work for you. Like, how's your maternity leave been?
I've officially had my out of office on for, I think this will be coming up to 3 weeks, and it's been a bit unusual because I'm not working in the same capacity as I was. I think I hinted at this in our first video, but I'm still, like last week I had 2 new business calls that I did. So I've got I'm planning for new work in 2021, which I feel is it's enjoyable to me, and my gauge of what I should be doing at this time, or maybe just generally in life, is whether I want to do it or not. If I want to do it, then I think it's okay to do it. But I'm not doing things that I feel like I should be doing, that are more obligation, or things that I feel like I physically can't. I've got an amazing collaboration coming up with a Australian designer brand who have sent me a couple of beautiful dresses, and I intended to do the shoot really pregnant, but the reality is that I am quarantined and I'm really cooked, and I might not get around to that prior to baby being born. Does that feel like a compromise for me? Yes, but it's a time where some things have kind of got to give occasionally. So I'm doing things that I want to. I'm probably working more than you would imagine that I would be working.
Yeah, I thought that maternity leave meant you went on leave, but because we have a home office where we both work, and you are up there for at least half a day.
Yeah, I am.
And you're supposed to be on leave.
Yeah.
But you do seem to be happier with the work you're doing at the moment, because it's the work you want to be doing. You're not doing any of the. handed off all the most of the admin and workflow management stuff to the rest of your staff. So now you're just doing the stuff that you really enjoy, which is, you know, talking to new potential clients and
and I think
consulting.
that actually tells me a lot about what maybe things will be like 6 weeks or 8 weeks after the baby arrives. I'll still want to do those things because they're part of me as a person. They're something I enjoy. So I guess everybody's maternity leave looks different. Some people, depending on what they do, they totally leave it alone, but that will probably never be me.
Yeah, I am a little surprised that we had this deadline, this date. I'm going on maternity leave from this date, and I probably only saw maybe a 20% reduction in the amount of work that you were doing when you were on maternity leave. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing in the office? Yeah. And you're like, I've got like 3 Zooms I've got to do. Yeah. But, you know, you seem happy. I'm happy
and I'm sleeping during the day. So, but anyway, that's what maternity leave is looking like, for me, at least.
Yeah. In my business, I'm going through, it's probably one of the busiest and most exciting times in my business since it started. So Mode Law is about to roll out effectively its second version, so version 2.0. We've spent most of this year building this, and we pushed out the launch by a month, which meant that the launch lands basically the same week that our baby arrives. So I've got two babies coming this week. Which is very exciting. I'm going to be very proud of when Mode Law version 2.0 launches, along with, I don't know, Yule 2.0 as well. But it's been a furious 2 weeks of work trying to prepare for that to go live. With these sort of startups, there's really no end in sight. Even though we're going to do a launch, where there's still so much work to be done that we can, things that we want to do and things we want to improve, and that are kind of in our realm of control. So we do a lot of automated documents on Mode Law, and I've needed to really dig in and revisit a lot of the older ones that we've had on there, as well as bringing out new ones, and that's taken a lot of time, but it's also been quite enjoyable. We're now effectively 2 years into the project, and I think that we're getting better at what we do, and there's just general excitement around the progress that we're seeing, so which is, you know, really exciting. And one of the big things that we're really excited about with this version is that we'll be rolling out a new subscription model that we think is, we bring out new features which make our subscription model make a lot more sense to both us and hopefully our customers, our users. And will also mean that we can market that in a more effective way. It's easier to understand the model now than we had been kind of like putting our finger in the air and going, I guess this will work. But now I think we've had some feedback from external consultants about what our costs are, and that then also feeds back and informs how much we should be charging for each of the different packages. It's hard, you know, when this is our first time doing a legal tech startup, and you know, you can read as many books and watch as many videos and get as many opinions from people in the industry, different tech parts of the tech industry, but each product is different, and the journey of figuring out what it needs to be and responding to your users and building something that makes sense is something else once you start experiencing it and going through it.
And I think that the like what I've observed of Yule is like he's coming towards the birth of the tech baby, is a lot of excitement, a huge amount of work output, but also this really amazing sense of things coming into place around pricing and the logic behind how much something has to be priced at. And I think that I see this in a lot of businesses, and I experienced it in my own. You kind of don't know where you sit with pricing until there's like a variety of different inputs, consultants, customers, you working out how much your own time is worth, and then you start to reveal how much the true cost of something is through a mixture of these things. So that's really, really great to see.
Yeah, it's super exciting to just feel like the path is being revealed. So it's not like we've just, okay, job done. You know, this is not job done. This is, the path is clear now. Now we can see where we're going, and we can kind of see, you know, the next waypoint, the next milestone that we want to achieve, and it's clear how we kind of get from where we are now, or where this product will be when we launch it, to where we want to be at the next milestone.
So that's been it's exciting to observe.
Very exciting. I'm so excited. This is exciting week.
It's exciting week, yeah.
And another reason we're excited is because Melbourne is just ended its effectively 6 months of lockdown. There was 1 month, you know, it was in between two forms of lockdown, where we were able to do some movement and have some guests in our house and that sort of thing. But this happens to land on the week that our child is due. So we have spent this weekend making the most of the only weekend we have of freedom.
Sans baby outside.
Yeah, sans baby, because we can't really, we'll be in a form of self-enforced lockdown, because the baby's not going to be, we can't really take them out until they've had their injections at about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we've got practice now. We've been in isolation for the best part of the year.
We're good at quarantine now.
We're good at it, yeah.
Yeah. This is a quarantine activity, so obviously, you know, we're productive in quarantine. We sort of, what kind of things have we done? Oh, we've been to Aldi together. It's like a date.
Yeah, the middle aisle.
We like the middle aisle a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We have been to Moondog World, which is a really big, like a brewery site in an outer suburb of Melbourne. We had a delicious lunch there.
Mm-hmm. And then I went and caught up with a friend at another pub. It was like almost like normal life had restarted.
Yeah.
One thing I will note is that some of the new systems that hospitality venues are putting in place, I'm quite impressed by, and I think that there might be some long-term benefits that come from that. So, for instance, going to the pub, it was table service only, and you did all the ordering and paying from the table. Just scan a QR code. Shout out to Mr. Yum, a friend of mine is involved in that business, and it was really heartening to see that their system works really well for ordering and paying, and also tipping of the hospo staff. And so there's no wait times. You're not allowed at the bar, so you don't have to wait at the bar, and your drinks come. You know, you can time it so that if you're down to your last quarter of your pint, you can order the next one. Oh wow! Magically appears just as you're finishing, and you want the next one. So I'm very happy with that experience. Very interesting how the etiquette is already changing. So you must wear a mask when you're out and about in Melbourne, but when you're in a venue, you're only allowed to remove it when you're at the table. So once you're at your table, you can remove your mask and socialise and eat and drink with your friends.
And it feels so nice not to have your face covered when you're having lunch with your friends.
That's right. Yeah. But you're not allowed to leave the table and just mill around. You can basically, you come, you sit down, you can go to the loo, wear your mask between the table and the toilet, and then take it off when you get back to the table. And then they're also timed bookings, so we were there for 3 hours, and then they said you've got 5 minutes and you've got to go because the next booking's coming in. So that's going to fundamentally change the way that we socialise, I think. And
it could potentially, actually, rather than supplanting hospitality, it could make it more efficient, and it could make it could encourage patrons to either have to book in for 2 sessions in a row, which is a kind of a commitment to keep consuming while they're on premises, rather than just nursing one pint forever. So it isn't necessarily. I get the feeling that technology hopefully won't be supplanting people in service industries. It will be enhancing our security as patrons, and hopefully helping those hospitality businesses actually make more money.
And the one last bit of baby related news, we took a tour of a childcare centre to figure out whether we want to send our child there.
Yeah.
And that was quite an interesting experience for two people that don't have kids yet.
Yeah. I'm pleased to report that childcare centres, they kind of smell the same way you remember them from when you were little. It's not an unpleasant smell. It just smells like a cafeteria and like home cleaning products.
Yeah.
And there's kind of warm fug in the air because of the amount of people in there. But we're people who tend to go with our gut. If we feel like something is good and it has a good vibe, then we'll tend to... we don't want to, shop around, or if it feels good, then we're likely to go for it. We had a really great experience at this childcare centre. The onboarding process was clearly scripted, but they also answered a lot of, all the questions that we needed to ask. They also made us aware of things that we need to learn about, all the things to do with Centrelink. So Centrelink in Australia is like our social services. So, whether or not we'll be able to get childcare subsidised to a portion and things like that, which involves paperwork. They took us into the baby room. We intend on putting our baby into a couple of days care, formal care, from about 4 months on. I asked whether or not that was early or what age do people typically put their kids in, and they did say that it was early, but that didn't really frighten me. My vibe with childcare is that in order for Yule and I to know that we have time set aside for our business and for ourselves, we need to have that time locked away. It will be amazing that my parents will be able to also help with childcare. We're really lucky with that. But having that formal time set aside for our business, I think, is psychologically actually a very big relief for the both of us. So we decided to go ahead with this particular childcare centre. And just jump into that world and see how it was. But what were your impressions of the childcare centre? What were the things that you that made a good impression about it on you?
I think there were two things that kind of, I'm not sure surprised is the right word, but two things I found very interesting were the level of design of each of the rooms for the children of particular age groups. Mm-hmm. So the baby room, they can take up to 12 babies in there, and the way that they've designed that environment is very much about tactile and
sensory.
It's very sensory in its design focus. So a lot of hanging mobiles and big shapes to push around and play with, and tunnels to go for them to crawl through. Kind of abstract shapes in a lot of the design of that room, but also very functional with having a little darker area off to one side with all these cots. Whereas each of the next group up had specific spaces for dining table, like the children obviously eat together around a round table with really small chairs, and for these are children between 1.5 and 2.5 or 3, something like that. Yeah. And very defined areas. It felt very home-like in its design. It felt like a kitchen, a kitchen where the mum just has said, let's get rid of our own kitchen table and just make everything for the children. Yeah. It felt a little, the proportion in that room kind of surprised me. It felt like, you see some, there's a scene in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind where Jim Carrey's character Joel is in a high chair or hiding under the table, and the proportion of the parents' legs are really long and that sort of thing. Yeah. It had that kind of feel about it because everything, the main bits of furniture for the children were tiny, but everything else seemed really massive in proportion. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that side of things. So the design I found very interesting. I'm not sure it was I don't really recall that level of detail. Not that I was paying attention as a 3-year-old when I was going to kindergarten or childcare, but I'm pretty sure that the level of detail and the design of the spaces wasn't anywhere near what we experienced at that place. And the other thing was the level of paperwork and bureaucracy around
accountability for everything.
Yeah. And also from the parents' side of things, it's they're very accommodating, and a lot of systems in place to ensure that they provide the child with as close an experience to being at home with us as possible. So, when do they take their naps? When do they have their meals? What
you might want to try, what you're trying at home in terms of foods, like if it's carrot that week or whatever, they'll
introducing the foods at the
introduce
same
that.
time as you do, and that all requires a lot of paperwork and
communication.
You know, health and safety stuff. What the focus of the childcare facility generally is at the moment. It's on outdoor experiences, so they're investing funds in better outdoor facilities, and the meals thing was incredible. So yeah, it was really surprising. I think
we feel really comfortable with that decision.
Yeah.
And it's a Reggio Emilia focus centre. I'm pretty agnostic about different attitudes. They're very young at that stage, so it just looked like a safe, accountable, well-designed care facility. And also I really like that they went into some detail about if you want to give your child breast milk while they're at the centre, like, yes, you can, if you like. There was no weird hang-ups or anything like that about that. They also asked about whether or not you wanted to use modern cloth nappies or paper nappies, and also there was no hang-ups about if you wanted to use modern cloth nappies. So that made me feel pretty comfortable.
The level of ability to accommodate the parents, in particular wants and needs for their child was really surprising.
Yeah. So yes, we did that, and that made it feel also very real. And then we had gone to, I think that was actually the very first day that we could go anywhere, I think. And we went to Preston Market, and we had really beautiful gozlemi and bureks, and it felt like Melbourne was coming back to life.
One more thing before we leave the daycare centre.
Yes.
The biggest surprise for me was how quiet it was.
Yeah, it was quiet.
The whole place had about 100 children in it. I think we only saw one kid that was crying.
Yeah.
And they weren't even loudly crying. They were just like having a bit of a sob.
Yeah.
And the way they managed to control that many children of those ages, I don't know, because I don't have kids yet. I just expect everybody's like, oh, your life's going to be madness. That's just going to be chaos and destruction. And so you think, well, if you put 100 of those together, there's going to be just like nuclear war.
Jumanji.
Yeah, pretty much. But it wasn't, and so that was really heartening as well to see that they, that makes you feel like your child's going to be in good hands.
Yeah, so we're feeling happy about that and what freedoms that might offer us in the coming year. In terms of, I think the last thing that I think is relevant to touch on is my levels of anxiety or fear around the birth. They're very low. And I asked my obstetrician the other day, I said, because there's a high likelihood, our baby's really big, there's a high likelihood I might be having a C-section, which I feel very good about. And I asked the obstetrician, are people anxious about it? And she said, she gave a sensible response, which is, there's as many different emotional responses to birth as there are people. But I feel it might be because of this stage of pregnancy where your whole body's relaxing and you're pumped full of hormones to make all your muscles stretch and everything. But I feel very relaxed about it. I don't feel anxious about it. I'm looking forward to it. And if I do have a C-section, it's, that will be an unusual experience, I suppose. But I don't feel particularly worried. I'm thinking about how I'll do my hair and makeup on the day of the birth and making sure that our house is nice for my parents. And I think it's because we've prepped so well, really. And maybe
I'm very nervous about saying how well we've prepped until the baby arrives, and then we find out that we've missed everything we needed.
Yeah. So I think that's about it from us. This is that I don't imagine that anything in the next week is really going to change. We expect that this time in a week or so that our child will be with us. So that's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's about it from Little Mirrors for today.
Yeah.
Hopefully next time you see us, I know we said this last time, but next time you see us, high probability we will be parents.
Yeah. And they may feature in the video, but we have a whole other talk about the politics of representing children in media and how we both feel about that, and that will be coming up in a further Little Mirrors. I'm very pregnant and I'm Iolanthe.
I'm not pregnant and I'm Yule.
We'll catch up with you next time.
Bye.
Hello.
Second to last day of pregnancy, my love.
Yes, and I feel very well.
You look very well, but you also look like you're tired of it.
Yes, I'm tired of it.
That's okay. When it's all over, we get a baby.
That's right.
And then you won't, well, I was going to say you won't feel tired. You won't feel tired of being pregnant.
I feel tired in a different way.
Yeah, I think so.